Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different on the channel, and we are going to be replacing all of the OEM speakers in my 2019 Chevy Silverado double cab LD. Now the LD is important because it means that I have the same body style as a 2014 to 2018 Chevy Silverado and not the brand new body style that started in 2019. Now these kits that we're going to be talking about are made by a company called PowerBass, and they were kind enough to send these over to us for review, and they are OEM direct replacement kits, and that's what I actually love about this. I have never seen any other company do something like this. I've always had to cut wires, drill holes and stuff, make things work. It's just, it can become very cumbersome and almost a nightmare in some senses, especially if you have like a Bose system, which I do not have a Bose system, just for clarification. Then you're talking about trying to bypass amplifiers and do all kinds of crazy stuff, or you have to buy really expensive adapters or harnesses or whatever, right? For this, you don't have to do any of that. They give you everything you need. Everything is pre-installed, pre-fitted. It has all the mounting hardware. It has all the brackets, everything you need. You're going to just remove the old speakers. It's going to retain all of the factory stuff that's in the door. You're going to use the plug that's plugged into the OEM speaker. It looks fantastic. And so without further ado, let's check out what you get in both the kit for the front speakers as well as the rear. Starting off with the front kit, you will see that you get some PowerBass stickers, as well as some information or application guide for the actual kit itself. And then you also get a card here that has their website, as well as all of their social media information on that for you to check out. Now, taking a closer look at the kit, you will see that we get two of these plugs here, and these plugs are actually really important because they are used for anybody that had the factory plug chopped off inside any of their doors. Now, even if you have the plug chopped off or missing, you don't have to use these. You can just wire the speakers up normal by just wiring the cable directly to the speaker, but I would recommend that you use these plugs just to make the installation easier and cleaner overall. Now, moving on, we're going to take a look here at the tweeter that comes in the kit, and you will see that this is actually a lot nicer than the factory one, and I'm going to show you that in depth once we get to that part of the installation. But you can see here that the material of the tweeter is going to be a lot nicer than the actual factory one. And again, this is all plug and play. So you'll see here that we have a plug, so you can plug the factory harness right into the tweeter. The magnet on this is a lot bigger than the factory one, and again, I'll show you that here in just a little bit. Moving on to the 6x9s, these are going to be in the front doors, at least for the model of truck that I have. And what I really like about this is you will see here that the brackets are already built into the speaker. We don't have to try and chop the old factory speaker up to get that bracket. Everything is here prefabbed together for you. It's got all of the foam built in around the speaker in the front and the rear, and it is designed to literally just unbolt the old speaker and bolt this one in. Again, same thing here. We have the factory plug on the back. We have a bigger magnet overall, and this is just overall a really good kit. Now, moving on to the rear speakers, you're going to see a lot of similarities here. So the rear kit, it looks like this. And when we open it up, it's going to look very similar to the front kit here. So we have our same stickers, we have our same application guide, same social media card. You get the same exact plugs that you get in the front kit, so that again, if you're missing that plug inside your doors, you can just go ahead and wire this back up. But for the rears, we actually have some 6.5s. You will see here that we have the same great quality that we had in the front speaker kit. These things just look incredible. And the brackets are built in. The magnets on these again are bigger. It just, overall, this is just a phenomenal upgrade in my opinion. Not using this yet, so just keep that in mind. We haven't tested or reviewed it, but just taking a look at the product for what it is, it looks really good. Now that we got the unboxing out of the way, let's head on out and see what we need to do to get this stuff installed. So for this, I'm going to start with the rear doors instead of the front because in my opinion, the rear doors are actually a little bit easier. And the first thing we need to do is we need to just get a small flathead and we need to pop this cover off inside the door handle here. And then there's going to be another one right behind the actual door lever for the rear door right here that we need to pop off. And then behind that, there's going to be a couple of 7mm bolts that we need to pop out, as well as a 7mm bolt that's down at the bottom of the door panel, and I will show you that here in just a second. The bolt right under here, we want to make sure we get that too. Also 7mm. From there, all you need to do is get a plastic pry tool of some sort and work your way around the actual door panel, just popping all the factory clips loose. And then if you grab it at the very bottom, once you get it somewhat loose and then just pull on it firmly, it should pop the entire door panel loose. And then from there, you'll be able to just lift it up off of the door, but be very careful because there are some wires that we need to disconnect for the switches in the door panel, as well as the actual cable for the door lever, and you'll see that right here. And so all you need to do is just turn this and pop it off, and then for the cabling, it's just a plug that you can just depress the actual clip and then pull out of the bottom of the door switch. And real quick, this is what the plug looks like that we had to disconnect from the actual switch that was in the door panel, just so you can get a better look at that. It just has a tab that we just need to push down, and then it should just pull right out. And then taking a look at the speaker, the only thing we need to do to get this off of the actual door is to take a 7mm socket and then just remove that top bolt there. And so once you do that, it will actually kind of tip and pull right out of the door panel, and then we can just disconnect the wire on the back by pulling up on that red tab and then depressing on the plug and pulling the plug off the back of the speaker. Now there is a little wire retention clip here that you need to pull out of the back of the bracket, and then from that you should be good to go. And real quick, just for comparison's sake, we have the PowerBass speaker here on the left and the factory OEM speaker here on the right, and as you can see, the PowerBass speaker is a lot better build quality. So the factory one's just made of paper. The foam on it is actually not as thick as the foam that's surrounding the PowerBass speaker. The brackets are pretty much identical. And then you'll see that the magnet is actually a lot bigger on the back of the PowerBass speaker. And so overall, the construction and build quality of the PowerBass speaker is a lot higher quality than that of the OEM speaker. Installing the new speaker is really easy. We just plug the plug back into the back of the speaker, and then once you do that, you want to make sure you push that red retention lock clip down, and then we're just going to take that wire harness clip and we're going to plug that into the back of the actual speaker bracket. From there, you just set the bottom of the speaker in the door panel first. There's a little clip on the bottom of the bracket for the speaker, and then you just kind of hold it up and put the bolt back in the top and then tighten it down, and that's it, and you're good to go. And then from there, we can just put the door panel back on and we'll be able to move on to the front speakers. One thing that I did want to note though is that when you take your door panel off, if you see these black foam things, they might fall off when you're taking your door panel off. They actually go right here on the door panel. It took me a minute to figure that out when I found them laying on the ground, but that's where they go for anybody that has that issue. Reinstalling the door panel is going to be the exact reverse of taking it off. So we're going to hook all the wiring back up to the actual door panel. We're going to hook the cabling back up to the lever, and then from there we're going to just make sure that we take the top part of the door panel and we're going to kind of slide it over the door and make sure that the mechanism for the lock lines up with the hole in the door panel, and then you're going to kind of just make sure that everything is on and fitted properly before we push it in and secure all of the clips. Once you get that done, we just need to put all of the 7mm bolts back into the door panel and then put the covers over the bolts, and that should be it, and you should be good to go. If you have any issues with this, just make sure you take your time and just be very patient so that you don't break any of the clips that are built into the actual door panel itself. Moving on to the front, it's going to be very similar to the rear. We're going to take these same covers off of the actual door panel to get to the 7mm bolts. There's going to be one key difference though, so we're going to take off this cover and we're going to take off the same cover that's behind the actual door lever, and we're going to take those bolts out, and then there's actually 2 bolts at the bottom of this door panel instead of 1. We're going to need to make sure that we remove those bolts as well, and then on top of that, we also need to take a pry tool and we're going to take off this trim piece here that's in the middle of the door. And then inside there's 1 bolt that we need to remove that you can see here in order to actually get the door panel off. The process is the same though. Once we get all the bolts off, we're going to go ahead and take our plastic pry tool and we're going to go ahead and work our way around the door panel and then pop the door panel off just like we did in the rear. But again, be careful because there is wiring that we need to unhook as well as the cable for the actual door lever itself. The front speaker is going to be very similar to the rear in that we just have a single 7mm bolt here in the top. Once we take that out, then we can go ahead and tilt the speaker out of the actual door and then disconnect the wiring in the exact same manner that we did for the rear speaker. So we just need to flip this red locking clip up and then go ahead and squeeze and remove the plug. And then we're going to go ahead and pull this cable tie here out of the back of the speaker bracket. And then just to give you a quick comparison of the PowerBass speaker here on the left, in comparison to the factory OEM speaker here on the right, you will see that again, just like the rear speakers, we have a lot better build quality with the PowerBass. We have a little bit thicker foam around the front of the PowerBass speaker. We have a bigger magnet on the back of the PowerBass speaker, but other than that, it is identical in terms of the bracket as well as the plug that we connect to hook the speaker up. Overall, the PowerBass speaker, in my opinion, is a lot higher build quality. And then moving on to reinstallation, we're just going to do it in the exact reverse as the disassembly. So we're going to plug the wiring harness back into the back of the speaker. We're going to make sure that we push that red locking clip back down. And then we're going to put the cable tie that is midway there on the wire into the back of the speaker bracket. From there, we can go ahead and just put it back into the door, placing the bottom of the speaker bracket in first and then just leaning it up and putting the bolt into the top of the bracket. Once you get the 7mm bolt reinstalled and you have everything fastened down, the speaker should look something like this. And then from there, we can go ahead and reinstall our door panel. So you want to make sure that you pop this lever up so that it is unlocked and we can put the electrical connector back into the back of the door panel. And then once you slide the connector in, you're going to go ahead and push that latch down to lock the connector in place. And then we just need to hook up the cable that connects to our actual door handle lever. And then from there, you should be good to go to line up the top of the door panel with the door. And then just take your time again and make sure that you get everything lined up in place prior to actually putting any of the clips in place for the door panel. Once you have all that done, you can go ahead and push the door panel onto the door, make sure all the clips are locked in place, and then we can reinstall all of the 7mm bolts for the door panel and then place the trim panel in the center of the door panel back on. The last thing we need to do to finish this installation is install the tweeters, and to do that we're going to go ahead and pull down the trim right here inside the door so that we can get at the A-pillar. Now on the driver's side, we're going to go ahead and just pull this panel towards us, and then there's an actual clip that's behind there that has some wiring attached to it, so be careful that we need to actually slide off. And you can see that here. So we just need to go ahead and push down here and then slide this off of the actual panel, and that will allow the panel to come free. Moving over to the passenger side, we actually need to remove a couple of covers to expose the bolts that we need to take out to remove the panel. So the first thing we're going to do is pop those off, and then we're going to use a 10mm socket to go ahead and remove the 2 bolts. Once we get the 2 bolts removed, the panel should just come off. There's no wiring behind this one or anything like that. Next, we can take our plastic pry tool, and we're just going to go around and we're going to pop up the actual cover that runs along the entire front of the dash. And you're going to have to hit this from both sides. And then in the very middle, there's a sensor that we need to disconnect the wire from. And so you just want to be really careful, but all you need to do is just squeeze it from the sides and then it should unplug. Once you have the sensor disconnected, you should be able to go ahead and remove that entire panel from your dash to get it out of the way. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually just take the bolts out of the tweeters. This in itself could be difficult depending on the tools you have. I was fortunate enough that I was able to just go ahead and stick a 7mm socket on there for the back bolt, and I was able to go ahead and break that free and get that bolt out. Now the front bolt is easy, you'll be able to fit a ratchet down there, but for the back bolt, because it's so close to the windshield, I found that it was very hard to remove in some cases. Now you might be able to get a wrench in there to break the torque on it and then use a socket, but if you can only use a wrench, it's going to take you a long time to go ahead and remove that bolt. And then just to compare the factory tweeter to the PowerBass tweeter, again, like we've been saying this entire video, the PowerBass tweeter is a lot higher quality. As you can see, it is a lot beefier, it has a bigger magnet, and it's just overall a lot higher quality product. And then installation is going to be really easy, so we're just going to plug the plug into the tweeter, we're going to drop the tweeter down into the hole, we're going to reinstall the two 7mm bolts that we took out. You're going to do this on both sides, and then we're just going to put all of our dash panels back in the exact reverse, starting with the long one that goes across the back of the dash. Just don't forget to plug in that sensor, and then once you get that pushed in, you can go ahead and reinstall your A-pillars, and then you should be good to go. So I've been using these speakers in my truck now for a couple of weeks, and I have to say that the sound quality is nothing short of amazing. I absolutely love how the installation of these speakers was so seamless, and just the fact that we didn't have to cut any wires or reuse brackets or anything like that. It was literally just a plug and play. It was perfect in my opinion. And I mean, that's saying something too, but the sound quality, let's get back to that. I know that I can't replicate it in a video. It won't sound the same as what it sounds like when I'm sitting in my truck, but the speakers are, I mean, tenfold night and day, better build quality, better sound, better construction, better everything than my OEM speakers. Now keep in mind, I did have the non-Bose system. So if you have the Bose system, you know, it might be similar, it might be better. I don't know because I don't have those to compare. But for what I had, these are so much better. The bass, there's like way more bass. The treble, the highs, they're clearer. It's night and day better, honestly. And so I really appreciate PowerBass sending these over for review. I hope that they continue this line for many other vehicles. I think they're doing great things, honestly. They're going to be able to handle the power if I want to upgrade my head unit. They just did such a great job executing this product that like I don't have a single thing to complain about. And that's something because I can complain, right? But anyway, you should just check these out. I'm going to throw a link down in the description for everybody so you can head over to PowerBass's website and check these out, and hopefully they make them for your vehicle. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified of future uploads. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.